If you love hip hop, let me hear you say, yeah. That's not good enough. If you really love hip hop, let me hear you say, hell yeah. Now that's what I'm talking about. All right, here we go. Everybody, my name is Jeremy Beaver. I'm the CEO and founder of the world's first hip hop museum, the National Hip Hop Museum. Thank you. Thank you. We have a really incredible event scheduled for tonight. And I want to let you know that it can't happen alone. In fact, we have an amazing team that puts together events like this. Because we're short on time, I'm not going to introduce and announce every single team member. But what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to announce some of the people that changed our lives. In fact, these are the people that made it possible for us to be here tonight. And I'm talking about the cast of the movie Beat Street. First and foremost, can I give a big round of applause for the one and only New York City Breakers, Powerful Pecs. Co-star of Beat Street and one of the greatest breakdancers in the history of the world. Round of applause for the one and only Robert Taylor, AKA Lee. The next person not only was the star of Beat Street, but he is the reason why graffiti is a global street art phenomenon. When I say RAMO, let me hear you say RAMO! RAMO! Without this next individual, the words hip and hop would not exist. The man that we consider to be the root of the tree of hip hop, the one and only producer, DJ Jazzy Jay. This man's introduction would be 3 hours long if I were to really give it honestly. But unfortunately, I have to just say that we have two of the greatest music producers in the building in the history of mankind. And one of them is the one, the only, Arthur Baker. The New York City Breakers are just not the New York City Breakers without the one, the only, Mr. Wave, everybody. Now, without further ado, I'd like to hand it over for a welcoming statement from Sugar Hill Gang's one and only, and the executive director of the National Hip Hop Museum, the MAS, the TER.
Like Kiyosabi, of course it's me, a veteran known as the Master G. I'm fucking in squad, sense the danger, when it's stung by the rapping Ranger.
Yeah. Somebody make some noise! If hip hop's in the house, somebody make some noise! Good evening, everyone. I am the Master G. You might know me. You might have known me from some records. A couple, right? Look at this thing, man. Look at this hip-hop thing. From when Mike, Hank, and myself, we released Rappers Delight in 1979. And from 79 to today, look at what it's become. Is this amazing or what? Unbelievable. Unbelievable. I am humbled and I am honored to be a part of this museum. I am humbled and I am honored to be a part of the Beat Street celebration. 40, I know this is, please give everybody a hand. Give them a hand. And like Jeremy, I'm not gonna sit up here and get long-winded. I'm just very excited and I'm very happy to be here and I'm very happy that so many people came out. I really appreciate you guys supporting the National Hip Hop Museum. Jeremy and I, this is a labor of love and we really appreciate it. So please give yourselves another hand. One more time, one more time. And with that being said, I'm gonna turn it over to my man right there, Jaquan, and we're gonna get into this fantastic podcast. Give it up for Jaquan, man. Rock the Bells editor, our historian. Arthur, pleasure. Enjoy, y'all. Have a good time. We're gonna have a great night, man. Thank you.
All right. Give me some volume.
Check 1 2. Check
1 2 1 2. Mic check 1 2. Let me get that one. 1 2 1 2. How everybody doing out there? All right, all right. Honored and humbled to sit up here with the cast of, one of hip hop's greatest movies. I know some of these brothers. I've interviewed some of them at length. Others I've just met, but it's certainly an honor to be in their presence. So I'm going to start it off with. Let's start it off with Robert Taylor Lee. Tell me, brother, I've never heard you tell this story before. Talk about the audition process and how you were able to acquire this role portraying Lee.
Well, it all started for me. I was like 14 years old. I had a friend, who used to be a big famous graffiti artist, and he used to get me into all of these clubs. So I used to get into clubs and I used to be looking at dances like New York City Breakers, Rocksteady Group, and just being in the club, the ambiance, just being there, the feeling, watching at the people's reaction to the dancing and the music, and just everything overtook me. So with that being said, I just wanted to be a part of something that was coming up. So what I did, I started dancing, started teaching myself. I actually brought it back to my neighborhood. And when I took it to my neighborhood, I was actually the first one to introduce it to my neighborhood. So every day after school, we started dancing, and I used to have all these people just come every day to either watch, to start learning with us, to learn together, or just to come and dance, just let loose. So with that being said, now it was the only thing that was going on in my area. So the very first auditions was being held was in this high school called Alfred E. Smith. Now, the first auditions was only being held for the students of that school. Just so happened that the principal of that school's cousin was Stan Lathan, the director of the movie. So what happened was, it was only, like I said, for the students that was in that school. So being that I brought it and introduced it to everybody in my area, all the kids in that school approached the principal, and they was like, listen, you gotta get this kid here. He's the one that showed us how to dance. He's the one that's got us to this point. I know it's, just for the students, but we need a pass for this guy. It wouldn't be the same if he wasn't here. So all the students of that school actually got that pass. I was the only outsider to attend the audition that day. So it was after school. I had to come from Manhattan, from my own high school. I rushed to go to that high school. And when I entered, they let me in. It was in the auditorium. No, actually, it was in the gymnasium. And there was so many people. And from there, everything it just was history. It took off from there,
Great. All right. The legendary DJ Jazzy Jay. The music, the music for Beat Street was, such an integral part of the film. Scenes with Guy Davis in his room, and I know you were behind a lot of that. Two-part question, briefly. Tell me how realistic your Roxy portrayal was to you actually playing in the Roxy, and tell me how much creative input you had in those musical scenes in this movie.
Oh man, they couldn't have been no further than day and night. When I'm playing in the Roxy, you'd never see me dressed like that, first of all. They probably wouldn't let me, yo Jay, you off your meds today? Something wrong with you, boy? Nah, the real deal is that was set up, for film and, to just reach a general audience. I like to reach that audience that like to spit back at me, so I couldn't dress like that. I couldn't play like that in the Roxy. But it just gave you a petition. It gave you a little bit of what we did and introduced you to what we do and everything like that, and put it in a package that they can take home to mom and pop couch and all thing in one swoop.
Understood. Arthur Baker, again, the soundtrack, incredible soundtrack. You know, we all know Breaker's Revenge, you know, and your production on Volume 1 and 2, but not many people know there was an unreleased Volume 3 of the Beat Street soundtrack. So talk a little bit about the unreleased Volume 3, what that would have been, and can we ever hear it?
Well, when we started doing the record with Harry, we dreamed of three volumes, and after the first volume, we held back some tracks for the second volume because we thought there'd be a third volume. Vicious Beat and Shadows of the Night, Only Love, which were two, could have been singles or whatever, and we held those back, and then when the second album came out, and it pretty much flopped. It didn't flop, but compared to the first, which was one of the first gold hip-hop albums, there was no desire by the record label to do a third album. And there are a lot of good tracks, a lot of the incidental music wasn't, on either one or two. So we will be getting that out next year. I've been working with Atlantic and Warner Brothers, so that will come out. But one thing Jay said about the costumes, right? Now, for him, he would never have worn that shit. But Bambaataa and Soul Sonic Force ended up really taking on those kind of costumes and ended up using a bunch of that after the fact of the movie. They did, because they were into Parliament Funkadelic and dressing up like that. So I know he wouldn't, but I think the rest of the guys were sort of into it,
Gotcha. Mr. Wave, legendary Mr. Wave. Your parts in that movie were iconic. The battle scenes were dope. How real was there a real tension between Rocksteady and the New York City Breakers, and how did that play out on film, if so?
Yeah, it was super dope. It was a lot of tension because B Street, as you saw, went global. So just think about number 1 and 2 in the streets. You got number 1 and 2 in a movie breaking. One group is gonna come out to be number 1. So we went in hard and fast. We held Lee back a little bit because it was a real battle, and Lee wasn't really a New York City breaker, he's a star. And we had to show Rocksteady what we was bringing to the table. I was a total surprise to Rocksteady because they had just picked me up a couple months before to dance for the president. And Rocksteady was not aware that they would be bringing me in the house. So it was 2 takes. Michael Holman was brilliant enough to say, listen, we need 6 cameras on these guys because what you're about to see, you will never see again. You can't keep retaking this. And they put those cameras on us, and they stopped it one time because when Doze jumped out at me, I'm from the project. I'm from Clay Avenue, 169th Street, Bronx, New York. Let me finish my set, and so they stopped it and said, listen, we'll throw y'all all out the building if y'all don't let this go through. And we calmed down.
Okay, so the tension was real. All right, RAMO, tell me how you secured the role, yes, sir, the role as RAMO, and what preparation, if any, you had to do to actually play that role.
Thank you. I was lucky. I got lucky just like I got lucky tonight. I went to High School of Performing Arts in New York City, which later became Fame. And then I knew Gina Belafonte, Harry's daughter, and we went to college together and we acted together for many years. So when Harry knew me and I knew Harry, so when they started doing it, they recommended I come in and audition. And I came in and auditioned and I got the job. I got lucky, thank you, like I am tonight.
Now, you weren't an actual graffiti artist in real life, is that correct?
RAMO was a graffiti artist.
Right. But, yes.
Yes.
But what kind of preparation, because it looked real. It looked like, the danger of the trains, everything that you portrayed. I didn't know as a 14-year-old that, you weren't, I always thought you did those tags and everything was real. what kind of preparation did you hang out with actual graffiti artists? Tell me about that process.
Thank you. I was very lucky. They paid for me to go with Bill Blas Cordero and Kid Wise. Okay. And he took me around the projects and he said, have you ever written on a wall before? And I said, no. He says, you're going to now. And then he took me down into the subway. You know, I'm from Manhattan, so we used to run around the, trains, but I never wrote anything. So he showed me how to write, and I practiced and practiced and practiced every day. And I was lucky because Harry Belafonte, if he saw me just resting for a minute, you remember, he would come over and say, what are you doing, man? Get to work, practice. So it was a great inspiration for me, and I'm very lucky to have done that.
Yeah, you did a great job. Like I said, you
changed
lives. You changed a lot of lives with that role. Everybody up here.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Pex, tell me about the battle scene at the Roxy, as well as the subway station. Was that one take? Tell me about the process of doing that.
Now, us and Rocksteady, we were rivals before the Beat Street. So the scene was as real as it gets. You know, when we battled in the Roxys, they wasn't cutting it. It was just one straight battle. And there's a lot of scenes you don't see in the battle rock. They actually cut Roxys so we look even, but we wasn't. You know what I mean? And the same thing, the scene in the subway was choreographed by Lester Wilson, and that was actually a choreographed scene that we did in the subway. So that's something that people are not aware of. Yeah, but the Roxys was real. The Roxys is real as it gets.
Okay. Lee, in the movie, the relationship between you and Mary Alice, rest in peace, it seemed like a very real and organic thing. And this is, again, coming from a young cat watching it. But, I mean, I think, for this, that was your first time out, correct, as an actor?
Yes, sir.
It was a real, a lot of emotional parts in that film, and the relationship and dynamic between you and Mary Alice, I thought was very realistic. Was there a mother-son type of bond on the set, or was it kind of strictly business? How did you interact with Mary Alice on that movie?
Well, when I first met Mary Alice, they introduced me to her as her gonna be playing my mother. So when we first started, we had a coach actress. Lady name was Mary Alice, correct? Smith. So we used to go out every day, and we used to have little classes where the cast have little classes with this lady, and we would constantly read the script. So once I found out that this lady was going to be playing my mom's, Mary Alice, I had to spend time with her as well. So we had a lot of on-set time and a lot of off-set time. There was days that I wasn't filming, she wasn't filming, and we would meet up somewhere in West End Avenue in Manhattan, and we'd spend the whole week together. And we just little stuff, go to a play, go sit in the park, read the script. So we kind of got really close over that period. And it took us eight months to film the movie. I spent about a good 3 months with this lady. During the process of filming and before we even started filming. So me and her actually became really, really close. She played my mother, but she was really like an aunt in real life. And she was really kind, really sweet. She had mother instincts because, at my age at that time, this was all new for me. So, I needed that support. I needed that comfort, that confidence, and that's what she gave me. She gave it to me, and she put me in a comfort zone where I was able to, when we was in front of the camera, it felt real, and it was coming from the heart, and God rest her soul, the lady's not here with us today, but she was amazing. She was really amazing. She was a wonderful person, and she was a wonderful person to work with. So.
Okay. Jazzy Jay, tell me a little bit. You had on the Beat Street soundtrack, you had "Son of Jazzy Jay," which I thought was Son of Beat Street. I'm sorry, Son of Beat Street, which was a dope track. I thought it was very different for the time. With the keyboard work and the instrumentals in there. Tell me a little bit about that track. Inspiration for it. Who else worked on it? Was that done in the basement? How did that come about?
we had a lot of low lives just hanging out with us, man. Me, Dave Belafonte, Lenny Underwood was the keyboard player. He was also from Unlimited Touch. Yeah, very talented guy. He could play 2 different instruments at the same time in different keys, in different speeds, and not mess up. Yeah, he was incredible. So we had a motley crew of all kinds of musicians coming in and you know, all kinds of weird equipment. We had this computer that for its time called a synclavier. This thing was like out of, you know, nobody had it because it cost as much as most people's houses at that time. But as far as I was concerned, if it cost more than $5,000, it was like, yo, you ain't gonna never see me with that keyboard at that time. But you know, and a lot of stuff we did, it was like, that was our job. Every day we came in and found new ways to just make music because Harry was like, well, I don't want to get the clearance. So you guys, it's your job to make something that's gonna make this look right. And that's what we did. We left so much stuff on the cutting floor that never even made the movie, that it was enough music that we did and left it on the cutting floor that we could have probably did 4 or 5 other movies with that. So, you know, that was basically just like an experience for me because, you know, it's the first time working with music and film together. So that was a totally different experience. And just working with the likes of Harry Belafonte, you know, I'm used to working with Buddha Baker over here because, you know, we go way back like car seats. But, you know, it's just that level of, you know, just seeing the picture on the screen and them telling me, yo, when he slides that way, I want you to make the music slide with him. And I'm going, huh? But I know what he wanted to capture. So when Lee went, I made the record go, so there's like people will follow it in the movie and say, wow, the effects and everything like that equal the sound, but it was something that, you know, I grew to like, and I said, yo, maybe I might want to do this later on, but it was definitely a good experience. Huh?
We had 2 teams.
What did I know?
There were like 2 teams. There was a team with Jazzy and David Belafonte and Harry, and then I had my team. And we were working, you know, in tandem, but there was so much to get done. There was like a time schedule that we were trying to beat Breakin'. We wanted to try to get out before Breakin', which we didn't end up doing. They came out before we did. But there was a lot of pressure in the whole project that I was under because, you know, Harry, you got to get this stuff done. You got to get it done. We want to have the movie out before Breakin', which, so I was doing songs in one studio, in Unique Studio. And that's where I wrote Breaker's Revenge and Shadow. And then we brought in like the System. They had written a song called, they wrote a song about the night, and then I ended up writing This Could Be the Night when they took their track to Chaka Khan, and they put it in the other movie, of course. So there was this real competition, you know. It was real because we had to get the shit done, you know.
You were running a couple of record labels at that same time. This was '84, so you were about to do It's Yours with Jazzy Jay.
Well, yeah, Jazzy brought that over, and I put it out on Party Time, and then Rick Def Jam that took off.
And that took off, okay.
But yeah, I was doing Streetwise and New Edition and all that. But I mean, and I was doing a lot of cocaine at the time too.
Well, yeah. So. Well, yeah, you would have had to be because
to tell everybody, man.
It's in my book. See, which is coming out in March.
Shameless
it's called
plug.
Looking for the Perfect Beat, and no, but that was the time, and we were all, you know, I don't know about the rappers or anyone else. I just know myself, you know, and we were going pretty mental. We were working all night and doing crazy shit, but. In the end, when the album came out and went gold, I was pretty happy with the results, you know.
Well, not long after that, you did the was the Artists Against Apartheid record? Was it?
Yeah, that was a year later.
A year later.
Sun City.
So that was a busy.
Yeah,
that was a busy time period.
I mean, Mel was on that. Bambaataa was on
That's
that.
right.
Curtis Blow, Run DMC.
Duke Booty, rest in
Duke
peace.
Booty. Yeah. So
Indeed.
I mean, I was very busy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Mr. Wave, about at that time of that filming and everything happening with that, you're still in your teens at that time. How did your life change? I mean, were you done with school already? Did you have to get a tutor? I mean, I know you were very popular at the time. How'd your actual life change as a result of that movie?
Well, to be honest with you, and I'm sure anyone can attest to this, that movie saved my life. The New York City Breakers saved my life. We come from an area in the streets of the Bronx, you know, where it was just all about us. And we were all blessed at the same time to have all these abilities. We never went to class or had any training on how to do this thing. You know, we embraced it, but it did not immediately change our lives. What changed my life is people coming up to me saying, "You saved my life." And it was so amazing to me for me to hear the stories, even injuries. You know, young ladies trying to do the wave and their mama beating them because they hurt their neck. You know, but the actual movie going global and people calling me to come to Canada, to come to Japan for 4 months, and seeing the response from this movie was amazing. And you know, when you gain insight, so my first show was for the president, and my entire career was for a president. I gained insight, the ability to look outside of myself and see what is there for us. B Street saved our lives, you know.
And for context, this is President Reagan you're talking about
Yes, sir.
at the time.
I've danced with 3 presidents, Reagan, Bush, and Barack Obama.
Crazy. Let's give a round of applause for that. Pex, same question for you, Pex. Not only Beat Street, Pex, but also graffiti rock and everything that was happening at the time. You know, I was in Virginia seeing you guys on television. You know, it was reaching everywhere. And you guys were, 100% responsible for us bringing out the cardboard and all that. You know, we really hadn't seen it too much before that wave of movies. So my question to you is, how did your life change at all as a result of those televised opportunities you got? Microphone.
Well, I started off at 6 years old fighting in the street. My father taught me at 6 years old with my brother, put on boxing gloves and fight each other. I grew up fighting. I really did. I was good at it. You know what I mean? But then I joined the gang. I was in the Savage Skulls, the Baby Skulls. And it came a time that I just got tired of fighting. You know what I mean? And when I gravitated to this dance, but I was into martial arts. I was very good at martial arts. So we used the same discipline, martial arts, and we used it with the dance. You know what I mean? And it changed my life. And I practiced every day, the same move. And before you know it, in the 70s, I used to get beat. You know what I mean? But you gotta learn how to get defeated to be a winner. You know what I'm saying? So by the time the 80s came and I got back into it, because I retired and then got back into it with the new generation, I started practicing and practicing. All of a sudden, we were doing these shows and after school talent shows, making money in the corner, going to 42nd Street, putting down the hat. And I said, whoa, we're making money. And then I said, wait a minute, this is a positive thing. And by 1982, we came on That's Incredible. We did the first show, one of the first shows that was televised all over the United States was That's Incredible. And it did change my life. You know what I mean? I became the best dancer in the world by 1983. You know what I mean? And I changed a lot of other people's lives. And that's what it's all about. Hip hop saved my life. It really did, sincerely, really did.
Definitely.
You know what I mean?
Round of applause for that. Definitely. Robert, again, being that you were like, everybody up here was a star in their own right, but you were the star of the movie, especially as young people. And I remember you on the cover of Newsweek. That's a collector's item now. I've been searching for that for years and finally copped it this year. Took me forever. That's a collector's item with you doing the head spin and everything. You were everywhere at the time. How did it affect your life? I know you were young at that point. You know, it was, running from girls like Beatles type, Michael Jackson, New Edition type thing. What was your real life like at that point?
Well, for me, at that point in time in my life, my mom was always on my ass. So, I was really good in school. If I did something bad, I had something good to cover for. So, like I said, my mom was always on me. So, school was one of the best things that happened to me, first and foremost, because I learned a lot from school. But the best thing for me in school was I liked to learn. So, when I got into this movie, man, it's just like going to school all over again. All I had to do was just open up and start absorbing, start listening. You can't learn nothing if you don't listen and you don't ask questions. I learned that at a young age, It has changed my life. It changed my life in a lot of ways. For me, it started just learning how to be a little mature. 14 years old, you're not really a lot mature at 14 years old. You're doing stupid stuff, pulling your pants down, smacking people in the back of the head. But me having to be in the scenario that I was in, being in the movie, I had to be around people that are a lot older than me. I'm the youngest one out of everybody surrounding me. All the other groups, everything. So, I had to be on my P's and Q's, and there was a lot to learn in a lot of aspects. And, it changed my life because I think I matured a lot quicker at my age than I should have, and very grateful because the knowledge that I have at this point in life and in time, but, it all comes from, if you don't forget where you've been, you're destined to return, So, I always try to stay positive, always try to give out a positive thing. Each one teach one. You never know who's looking. You never know who's watching. So, you got to walk the walk, talk the talk. And, for me, it's just from that movie, I got a lot out of it. Hip-hop did save my life. It took me out of a lot of bad things that I was, in with kids and just running around in the streets. But, it was a life-changing experience where I learned so much. Because, there was people that grew up with me that are not here today because they didn't get that message.
Certainly.
So I'm blessed and I'm here,
Yes,
Thank you.
Yes. RAMO, John. So were you actually into hip-hop previous to this movie, or was this movie your introduction to hip-hop?
I was aware of hip-hop, being a performer in New York and being a son of New York, and I had listened to a lot of stuff on the radio, but this was the first time I really saw and understood and felt the energy. And I never forget the first night I saw the New York City Breakers and we were there and I saw Tony Wave melt in front of me. I couldn't believe it. And with Pex, we were joking like he had a motor on him. And with this guy, he was so talented. I was surrounded by such a force of talented people. I have never had this occasion again. And so that was really what introduced me to the power of the culture. Before that, it was just kind of like, okay, on the radio and people were doing it and it was on everybody's lips, The message was on everybody's lips, but this was where I really saw. And I didn't know what I was going to see until I saw it, and I was mightily impressed.
Yes, yes. For those who don't know, DJ Jazzy Jay, at every decade, every era of hip hop, he's been played an integral part, going back to his time with Disco King Mario and Bambaataa and the records, and even coming up to the golden era, recording some of Grand Poobah's first stuff, Busy Bee's comeback, Diamond D, his own studio. A lot of people don't know that. Some people only know Beat Street or whatever segment of his life story that they know. Besides the obvious love of music, what is it that drives you? Because I know you're still doing your thing. I seen your basement. I seen your record collection. Outside of the obvious love of music, what is it that keeps you doing this?
Well, for me, what really keeps me doing is seeing the look in people's eyes when they appreciate what I do. That's what fuels me, because when I look at all these other artists that get bigger than their fan base, I really can't understand that. You know what I'm saying? It's like without your fans, you'd be no one. You know, a kid walked up to me, he was like 9 years old in London, and he broke down my whole history. He told me stuff about me that I didn't even know yet.
London cats will do that.
It was incredible. I was a kid. I would have signed all of the records for you. You had me at, hey, how you doing, Jazzy Jay? I would have did that for you. But that's what keeps me going. You know what I'm saying? The appreciation that other people have for what I do, it makes me appreciate it. It's like, you know, when this man right here, when he finishes that canvas and everybody comes up and go, wow, that's what makes him thrives and fuels him to do that, and that's what makes me want to do it over and over again.
There's a piece of footage out there, I think it might have originated from a UK documentary, Beat This, maybe. But it's you DJing and there's a bunch of kids around you. In the last 5 years, that piece of footage has been licensed so many times.
And I ain't get a dime for it yet.
Of course not.
I
You
swear,
know how that go, brother.
I've been trying to hunt down. You didn't have nothing to do with that, right, Arthur?
So
I've been trying to find out who's been doing that. I ain't gonna lie to you.
When you look back at that footage, you know, how does it make you feel to look at something, you know, from that had to be 30 plus years ago, and to see it, you know, reused as an example of DJ culture? You know, how does it feel to look back on that as a youth?
It's incredible because I have people now that look at that footage, and they say to my son, "Yo, Matthew, I didn't know you was playing." Because my son is maybe about 2 feet taller than me, but me and him look just alike, and they be like, I didn't know you was playing for so-and-so back in the days. And he's like, nah, that's my dad, it's not me. You know what I'm saying? So it's incredible, but, you know, just like knowing that all of those years you did that, and then here it is years later, a lot of brothers are not blessed enough to be here, and I'm still here talking to you lovely people. It's incredible.
Definitely.
You know what, should we give a little thanks to Harry Belafonte, because
certainly, of course,
he really took a shot on this. You know, it was not easy for him to sell the concept to the studios. Him and David Picker went and put their asses on the line basically for this film. Because I mean, think about it. No one really knew this was new at the time. I mean, it was like 5 years old, but in Hollywood speak, it was new, dangerous stuff. And not that the rappers always agreed with Harry. I would be in between them and Harry, because everyone wanted to smoke cigarettes and drink beer, and Harry, you know, would have none of that in the film. So it was homogenized, but the amount of truth that made the film was definitely a lot more than anything else at the time.
Can I respond to that?
Yes.
So I agree. Harry was the catalyst. He was the reason for it, him and David, really Harry. But we also got to give homage, pay tribute to Lil Lep, who has passed. Buck 4, who has passed. Kuriaki, who has passed. Each one of their roles in the film was groundbreaking. And the tenacity that they used when they did the film, and who they were. You know, we are losing life. So we are honored to be here 40 years later, but we are losing life.
Definitely. Yes. To piggyback off what Arthur was saying, one of my next questions was about Harry Belafonte. As I speak, you know, times I've spoken to Marley Marl and Globe and different, you know, Globe from Soul Sonic Force, and different people who interacted with Harry on a daily basis on that film. They all speak very highly of him, not just the fact that we were young and we didn't necessarily know his accomplishments, but not just the fact that they were, you know, amazed to be in his presence, but he sounded like a very down-to-earth and just a cool guy. I know you work with him a lot, you know, in the capacity of the soundtrack. What kind of person was Harry Belafonte?
He could be difficult. I mean, he was a star, man. I mean, everyone knew he was a star. All the rappers, everyone knew, you know, everyone knew his history. I mean, Harry famously said if he had been white, he would have been president, which I believe was true, because he was such a force in nature. But, you know, a lot of the rappers are very stubborn also. He was stubborn and the rappers were stubborn. So there were issues definitely that, you know, that I would be in between the two of them because I brought Soul Sonic in, I brought Marley Marl, I brought a lot of those guys I brought in, so they would look to me and go, yo, this shit ain't right, Artie. That would be, I'll never forget Biggs, who should be here, saying, yo, Artie, that shit ain't right, man. This is not, it's not real. But, you know, Harry had to deal with Hollywood, had to deal with Orion Pictures, so he couldn't do it. And, you know, you understand it now, but at the time, everyone was sort of, we'd like to push it a little further, but Harry was an amazing human being, man. I mean, there was only one Harry Belafonte, and, you know.
Certainly. I'll come back to you in a second. Lee, I would like to know from you, what do you consider the legacy of B Street? 40 years later, you know, hip hop has been commercialized, it's been homogenized, it's gone around the world, it's been through a lot. 40 years after the fact, what would you say is the legacy of that film from your point of view of a person that starred in it?
Well, from my perspective, I would say, you know, it started with us, you know. It's not watered down. It's pure, you know. And where hip-hop is today, you know, I was saying earlier, everything is 360, it comes back around. Even though a lot of the music today is not like we grew up with or listening to, but a lot of these artists, they do realize that it's the old school music that's still hitting. Because you see all these remixes, all these old school music coming back, you know what I'm saying? So, I think it should be a little more. I think it should have went a little further, but, you know, baby steps. You know, I'm very grateful for where we are today, 40 years, you know. None of us here would have had imagined that we'd be sitting here today being honored for something that we've done through childhood, things that we love, you know. But like I said, baby steps. Everything, you know, it's still progressing. It's still got a lot. We still got a lot of work. We all do. We still got a lot of work. And even though I'm up here, we all up here from this perspective of history, you know. But the way I look at it, we all part of history. Because I might have been the one in front of the camera dancing with everybody here, Arthur making the music, Jazzy DJing. But if it wasn't for y'all in the crowd, we wouldn't be up there doing what the hell we did. You know what I mean? So
that's right.
Can I get an amen?
That's right.
You know, I always say that, man. You know, we all are part of history. Whether you were standing in the crowd, you know, even the people in the crowd, they brought something to the table. The way, the style, the fashion. You know, I mean, there's a lot to be grateful for, man. I think it should go a lot further, but baby steps. And, you know, it's for all of us being here today. There's a lot of everyone here in all states. You know, we just got to keep pushing. Stay positive. Keep promoting all the positive stuff. I have an 18-year-old kid. My son is into drill rapping. Let me tell you, I'm having a big issue with it, but, you know, I got to respect it because this is what these kids do. Nah, honestly. You know, so I support him, and I also look down his back to make sure it ain't nothing, you know, negative, no cursing, none of that gang affiliation stuff. But, you know, it got a long way to go, man. But it has to do with us. We are the teachers. The best teacher in life is experience. I got mine. I'm still getting it today, but it's for all of us to pass it on.
Yes, yes. One more question briefly for you. You mentioned you had an 18-year-old. How does your children or your 18-year-old, when you shown them, did you show them B Street in their youth, and how did they react to it if you did? How did they see Dad? Is it just kind of not a big thing for them? What is it?
So a lot of my friends, kids, they like, oh my God. But my kids, they don't get that. I think it's not just me, man, because I know a lot of famous people. You know, I met a lot of famous people, and it's just part of the job.
That's right.
You know, your kids grow into this. It's nothing new to them.
Right. They
grown into people being all over me. I mean, sometimes it's overwhelming for me. I'm very humble. I don't always like people to know who I am. Sometimes I just want to walk down the block. I have to hide my head. My son, he laughs when I do that. He's like, Dad, you ain't nobody. Get out of here. That's like 50 years ago. Get out of here. You know? But, you know, just my son, none of our kids appreciate it. They really don't. I mean, my son he's only 18. I have met people that their kids are into it, But I think because of who I am, my son is like, oh, that's just my dad. He ain't
Right,
nothing.
right.
And I believe anybody in my shoes that have kids, we go through this, man. You know,
Yes.
I try my best. That's
Indeed.
all I can say. I try my best. But I know
Indeed.
my kid, he loves me. He knows who I am, and he respects that.
Definitely. Wave, I think you wanted to kind of piggyback off of something we were saying earlier or add on to something.
Well, just a couple of things. Can you hear me? 1, 2, 1, 2. Couple of things. Where are they now? What have we been doing? So me and Mel was watching. Actually, we went to an event in New York City that Arthur Baker, Michael Holman was having because Nas just signed on to do the Beat Street musical on Broadway. So Nas is directing that. So me and Mel was talking about 40 years ago how we felt now. We watched the movie with Nas. This is a few months ago. And 40 years ago, we all were upset about the film. Because we did not understand. We didn't come from downtown. We didn't understand how that translated. But Mel said something to me that blew my mind. He said, we were young. It makes perfect sense now. What Harry was doing, what he tried to do, he tried to get this to last 40 years. He's done that. So I had the idea of doing Where Are They Now? Beat Street. And all of these casts are in the 3-part series. So you'll get to know about Beat Street. You'll get to know how we felt. You'll get to know what we are doing today. But then after that, they're going to drop the musical. Bama. It's going to be a banger. So we're not going nowhere. This is 120 years.
Yes, indeed. Probably the last question I'm going to ask again to RAMO, because you were not necessarily of hip hop until you saw the movie. How about your parents and your family and those who may have not been into hip hop, but here you are, a major part of this hip hop movie. Like I said, you did it so well that we just assumed, you were the guy that's doing this graffiti. I mean, you really did a great job at that. How did your family, friends, associates, and other people who weren't into hip hop, how did they react to the movie and you? Positive, negative? What was it?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. At the time, when you're an actor, you do a job and you're off the job and you never go back to that job. So, and so that was definitely an issue, where you weren't connecting with the culture anymore. And I had no idea that all of these beautiful people would love this movie so much. And so I went on to try and, do what I could do. I think the people around me were interested. I think a lot of people had never seen hip hop, and they had never seen anything like Beat Street. And so, they were supportive, I guess, I think it was good, It was years later, and thanks to Tony, that I understood really what a part of the whole scene and what part of the culture RAMO was. And so I'm grateful for that, believe me.
Definitely. You definitely, you touched a lot of people. I mean, the fact that, Biggie, more than a decade after 50 Cent, you've been, quoted so much in the popular culture and in hip hop culture. People that were younger than me at the time that are still quoting it. You're a true symbol of that film, as all of you are. So I want you guys to give another round of applause to these distinguished panel that we have here. Beat Street 40. Definitely. Thank you for being here. Honored to chop it up. And we have our induction ceremony coming up in just a few minutes. Our host, Jeremy Beaver, getting things together.
All right, thank you, everybody. This has been incredibly special, but it doesn't end now. In fact, it gets more intense. These amazing legends and heroes of ours that we kind of grew up with and that we look up to and we idolize, we're going to be inducting them into the world's first hip-hop museum. So what I ask is that everybody, they order a nice stiff drink, okay? Order some of the MOP mashed out potatoes, okay? Maybe some of the jerk wings, the Wyclef wings, okay? And in about 10, 15 minutes, we're gonna get ready for the 40th anniversary Beat Street induction. So stay tuned, everybody.